is mental health? Well, mental health is our emotional, psychological, and social well-being, and it affects how we think, how we relate with other people, how we respond or react to situations, and how we deal with stress. On The Real Talk, today, we will be talking mental health. Hello and welcome to The Real Talk, coming to you from Mythos Boutique in Chiovu. Our guest today is a mental health advocate, call her a mental health champion, and we're pleased to have with us Gerardine Bayisenge. It is a pleasure to see you, Gigi.
Thank you. Nice to meet you, Jackie.
Thank you. Pleasure's all mine.
Okay, you said like a mental health champion. That makes me so shy.
It shouldn't make you shy. You're championing this cause. What do you prefer to call yourself? Advocate?
I don't know. I'm an advocate, ambassador.
Ambassador. You know, but all those words mean the same thing.
Because
You're a champion.
like, I did not win yet because we're still building.
No. There's no, winning is relative.
Yeah.
We don't win, ultimately. But every small step you make is a win. If you sleep today and wake up tomorrow, you've won.
True.
So you're a champion. Don't even deny it. Own it.
Yeah, okay. You just made me say.
Gerardine, tell us about yourself. Who are you? Where were you born? How was your childhood? Basically, it's an opportunity for you to introduce yourself to us.
Okay. I'm Gerardine Bayisenge. I'm 30. I was born in this beautiful country. I was born in Nyanza. So for me, it's like special because like that's like the heart of Rwandan culture.
Nyanza district.
Yeah, like no, Busasimana Nyanza, like really close to the palace.
The palace?
Yes.
Ooh.
So, but I haven't not been there yet since I was in Rwanda. But the biggest part of my life, I think, for the past 23 years, I spent like in the Netherlands.
Okay.
So Rwanda import.
So do you have any recollection of the few years you spent here before going to the Netherlands? Because we're going to ask you how you left then for Netherlands.
Yeah, like I don't have it. I have like small pieces. Even like
you
in my
were
own,
young.
Yeah, in my own therapy sessions, we came to the conclusion like, when something is of value to you, but it's so of value that it hurts you, you just like stick it away in a secret chamber. And I think that's like my first formative years in life, what I did with that.
So how was your childhood?
My childhood, like outside of here, I had a really great childhood. I'm close with my siblings. I had really supportive parents. But even in that, like really early, like my dad saw like the cracks of like what's supposed to be, because like I was born in an interesting period in Rwanda, and then I grew up after everything, like the darkest period of our country. So
when were you born? Which year?
93, 92. Like,
okay.
so like on like the boundary. So I was like one and a half when everything happened. Rwanda to me was always like this like dark piece. We do not talk about it. You know what happens and the world writes about it. And especially growing up in Europe, you read about it, but the story is never told by Rwandans. And I think that's made me like research, like who am I, where I come from. And I'm still like searching for that truth and the answers to it.
Yeah, how many siblings are you?
With 4 of us.
Okay. You mentioned that you come from a blended family. Describe that for us.
So like my stepdad was Dutch. He came to Rwanda to do like a research about the genocide in '96 through the UN and the Dutch government. And he met my mom, and that's in the end how we ended up in the Netherlands.
And your mom, was she married? Was she separated? Was
no,
she
my mom was really like, my mom is a queen. My mom was raising her whole family up from everything what happened.
Oh.
So she was like the provider. She still is. Like she took care of her mother and like the things that were left of her family. Because we had a family like really big, what I discovered later, and now it's like not that big anymore. But it's still there, and my mom is like total the one that held everything together.
Yeah. You then returned to the country at the age of 16.
Yes, so there came a time in life that my parents said, okay, you're old enough, let's go home, because we always were calling with my grandmother. So we came back home when I was 16, it was in February. And the thing I remember the most, like, okay, you land and the air. That's something that never left me. There is this air at the moment when you land in Africa, it's like this dry, earthy smell.
Was that the first time you're coming to Africa?
That was the first time for me coming back after I left when I was like 6, 7, like in 10 years. So it was really interesting. We landed and then like we got here and we were complete, like my mom, my dad, my uncle, who also like served with my dad over here. And so I got like to meet my grandmother as like a young adult. But the thing what I remembered is like, so you're driving to Kigali, and I think like they call it the Belgian Memorial because I have not seen it anymore since I came back to Rwanda. Like then you saw like those bullet holes in that building. And that was the moment for me, I was like, what is this and what am I doing here? I got emotional, but not scared anymore. And back then for me, it was like, okay, I heard the stories because of my dad's research, he always told us the truth. He always told us like, one day you're gonna wake up, you're gonna ask me where did I come from? So specifically, he always asked my mom, he always asked my family, like, what's your family history? What did happen? Because one day my children will have questions and I want to answer them, or they can find them themselves, but at least like then we have a road to go there. So in that trip, we did a bit. We came home, we spent time with my grandmother, and then he took us to important places, like the church in Yamata and the memorial, and we also went to Nyanza, and that was like the moment for me when I saw the church and the memorial, like emotionally I broke. I broke down so much. I came home, I was crying all the time, and my grandmother, like, she was scared. She was like, what's happening? Or why she's like, my parents could not retain me. And in the end, I looked at them, I said, I'm sorry, but I'm never gonna come back here, ever, in my lifetime.
Why? What made you say those words?
Because like I felt like this country is filled with people who lost their humanity in such an easy way. Like I was young and everything was black and white to me. So I was like, no. Like there's a certain percentage who still like does not have that part of humanity. I do not want to be surrounded by that kind of negative energy.
You know, the country, we had the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994. You were born in 1993, so 1992, 1993. You were a toddler when this was happening. You didn't feel it. You didn't see it. That is what I would assume. That is what somebody else watching this program would assume. Just hold on, because you're one, you could even be 2 or 3. And the assumption is someone of that age is not seeing what is going on around them. Their parents could see it and feel it and get affected by it, but this 1-year-old does not really feel it. And then we go through this time, and at the age of 6, you leave. When I listen to you now, and even the conversations we've had off air, you look like a very disturbed person. And I'm just wondering, how much could a 6-year-old be able to see and take in that it could affect them for all these years? And I wonder, is it because of the thing that you felt as a child? Is it the stories you were told? Is it that we take for granted the emotions of our children? I know that question has gone everywhere, but just answer it. I hope you've understood it.
I understood it very well, and it's interesting. Thank you for asking me this, because that's something I'm really like being busy with, and even in my own therapy sessions with my own therapist. I think a lot of African people do not know, and I talk about the continent. It's like inherited traumas, and we don't talk about my mother. I go back to my grandmother's mother. On our continent, so much happened to us. So when you give birth to somebody, a part of your DNA, a part of your soul is in that next generation of you. So if you suffered, they will get the suffering with them. And in Europe, we're like a bit further with that, but inheritary traumas are something really interesting and to look at as an African continent, because the pain and the suffering that our continent went through and our people went through, it's still gonna be like 10 years from now in that generation if we do not break those chains of like ignoring that it has been there. And it's still, so yes, I have not seen it, but I felt the pain, and the pain I'm trying to solve right now is not my pain. It's of 3 generations of women who did not have the time to sit by and be like, I emotionally not well. I feel depressed. They didn't have the time for it. And especially I talked about like the Rwanda women, because like they're the ones that are great in this country. They put their own suffering on the side. They put their own emotional health on the side to raise the next generation. But it's still being felt by the young generation because they saw the mother suffer, but they did not have time for it. It's about like survival mode. So if you're in survival mode, yes, 3 generations later from you, they gonna feel that suffering that you put aside for that survival mode.
At what point did it become of significance to you? Because you look like you're carrying the burden of very many generations. I sit here and I'm very sure that my great-grandmother and my grandmother, indeed they suffered. None of us lives a smooth life. No way. So they had their own share of suffering. But not even once have I felt like I am carrying the burden of my great-grandmother, my grandmother, and my mother. I have a lot of problems to deal with that I try my level best not even to imagine. Try not to imagine what they went through. So when did it become your burden?
I think when I like started talking to it, because like especially when you meet like diaspora women and even my own therapy sessions, okay, from young Savannah, I was so curious. And I'm still talkative. So especially because like my family's a little bit more quiet, and my mom used to tell me like, good Rwandan girls, they sit and they're not that loud. And I was like, why? I did it from a really young age. I was always, why? I wanted to know things. So even when it came to my own suffering, I was like, am I the only person who's going through this? So yes, I researched it. I read books. So that's how I know like the suffering. And I feel it even when I read about it. Yeah. I feel the emotions of those people. I think like my emotional intelligence is sometimes a little bit too high. It suffocates me.
If it suffocates you, I'm sure it suffocates the people around you.
It does. I'm not the easiest. I'm sometimes a little bit annoying. But that's why I know how to calm myself down also.
You keep talking about therapy sessions. It's not our thing. We hardly do therapy sessions, really. Yeah, don't look at me like that. You tell me how many of your friends know a therapist or have a therapist's number.
Okay. It's for us diaspora kids.
You see, no, you're not us. I'm talking about us.
No, like we go back also to here.
Yes.
And then I'm coming a bit judgmental, but
don't judge us.
I don't like to judge people, but I'm just gonna lie it open. We grow up with parents that tell us, because it's a survival economy where we're born in and growing up in. Like our parents, even outside of the continent, they still are in survival mode. So yes.
So when did you have your first therapy session? When did you see the need to see a therapist? What made you?
Okay. I think after I was 18, because like after that time in Rwanda, I saw some little cracks in my armor of like, I'm good. And I went to live on myself when I was like 18, 19. And that's not common because my siblings stayed home. But I was a bit of rebellious because I felt my parents are suffocating me. Your rules don't work for me. So then they were like, okay, go try, please go. So I went to move to The Hague to try to study over there. And that's the moment I discovered the suffocatingness, like the whole family community thing. It was protection. Because the moment you're left alone with your own mind and your loneliness when you're not in a good place, you will get lost in your own head. So I got to a point, I was so lost, and I heard my neighbors walk. I had panic attacks. I was like, I read about panic attacks, but like you said, yes, those are for white people who have time enough, for Western people who have time enough
They
to
even have a name for it.
But unknown, I think even my people here suffer from it, but it's like, I don't know what it is. We drink it away.
Yeah.
We party it away. We act like nothing ever happened.
We laugh it away.
We laugh it away. And people keep asking me, how can you tell such a weird story, such a painful story, and laugh at the same time? I was like, what do I do? I can sit and cry for myself, but that would not help me. So in the moment that I felt like I'm losing control because I'm addicted to my control, I told my parents, okay, I agree with you. I will sit with that white doctor and see what is happening. Because I was...
How did the first conversation go? You're 18, you're seated with this person, and you're going to describe to them something that is an enigma. Because mental health itself is not something that people understand. We talk about it, I've interviewed people about it, but it's something, a conversation that I cannot have satisfactorily. And as we say, it's not something written on one's forehead.
No.
So how did you have that conversation the first time?
Like, it was such a nice lady. It was like, just like now. She was like, okay, I heard your parents told you, like, you going through certain things. Just tell me, what does trigger that you stay in your room, don't want to talk to people? What is it? We just had a normal conversation. A lot of people think you go there, you sit, and they be like, okay, tell me this, 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 and that. It was not like that. It was a really nice lady. She's like, just tell me about your daily life. How are your friends? How do you do? And okay, since you have like great friends and great friendships, why do you end up at the point that you push everybody away? So she gave me questions to think about it because I was doing certain things. I did not even know myself why I was doing them. So she just gave me like skills to take home, like you do things. Why do you do them? Go home, evaluate for yourself when you do a certain thing, and if you understand that, you can come back to me. So I don't see it as therapy as talking. You said we do a lot in Africa. When we're sick, we go to the doctor. When our car is broken, we take it to the mechanic. But when you're mentally not well, emotionally not well, what do we do about it?
Do we even notice it?
No, because 9 of the 10 times we step over boundaries of ourselves and more boundaries, and we let people step over boundaries till you get to a certain point that you think like this is too much. Instead of dealing with the small things, when somebody says, I want to do this, you say like, no, that's my line, because I do not feel comfortable with you doing that.
You know, Gerardine, somebody would be wondering, you mentioned earlier you came from a very close-knit family. You had a father that was quite loving, a mom and siblings that was so loving. What was disturbing you, you know? You seem like you really found things to make you busy.
Yes, I do, but...
And busy in a bad way, busy to the point of looking for a therapist.
What was disturbing me is the things I could not...
point of that.
Like clear out for myself. I told you, like, I'm a curious person, so everything needs to be explained and like dissected. And I could not understand those things because, like, yes, I'm happy. Where do these emotions come from? Yeah. And later, when I analyzed everything what happened, I came to the conclusion: survival guilt is something, because you think I got this amazing life. People sacrifice their lives to do that. What am I doing with it? And that's the conclusion why I felt guilty, why emotionally I was not whole. Because I thought I had to live for somebody else who fought to give me those opportunities, but I did not live for myself. I lived to expectations.
Who were you living for?
My family, who sacrificed everything for us just to be there.
We will be back, Gerardine. We're talking to Gerardine Bayisenge. She's I call her a mental health advocate or champion. I called her champion earlier, then she said, no, maybe not. But I told her, I tried to convince her that she's a champion because every day is a win. We're talking about mental health. My name is Jackie Lumbasi. We will be coming back with the real talk. But in the meantime, check out Mythos Boutique Hotel, then Kiyovu. If you happen to be in Kiyovu weekdays at lunchtime, you better try out their corporate lunch. Welcome back to The Real Talk. Thank you so much for staying on. Please use the hashtag The Real Talk and we will find that message, question or comment. We will respond to it. We're talking to a mental health advocate, Gerardine Bayisenge, and we're very honored that she accepted our invitation to share her personal story. It's not often that you find people willing to discuss their challenges with mental health or their mental state. Gerardine, so you went to a therapist and then later on, you decided to share your story publicly. This is what we're doing today. But even in the past, you found ways of sharing your story. And so what prompted you to do this? But also by the time you started talking about it, is it because you felt like you had fully recovered?
No, not at all. So I talked about it like I had different therapists. And once I walked into this office of this man, I thought, oh, another one. Another old white guy trying to dissect me. And I got there, and he's just like, sit, let's have a talk. He's like, you're sad, but you're not showing it. People told me that you're emotionally broke down, but I feel like a lady sitting. You have makeup on. So you're not that broken. I was like, you're weird. You're supposed to tell me, hello, it's gonna be okay and everything. He's like, no, we're just gonna do pure honesty over here. And he's like, okay, sit, start crying. I was like, why? He's like, feel sad for yourself. Yes, you went through something. Yes, that's why you go back to it every time, but feel sad for yourself, and then we're gonna move on to what we're actually gonna do. And I was like perplexed. I was like, nobody ever dared to talk to me like that. And then when the conversation finished, I told him, like, thank you. And he was like, would you like to do something for me? I was like, okay. He's like, there's this platform, there's some young people, and they have also like immigrant backgrounds and hard backgrounds. But me as a doctor, I can tell them something, but they will have the same reaction as what you just did. But if they hear it from you and see you standing and see you even not healed, that you can tell your story to like-minded people, same young people, they will look different at their own journey. And I was like, okay, why not? Talking has always been easy for me.
Yeah.
Maybe not about what's happening actually in myself, but it always has been like a really good way of expressing myself. So to get an opportunity to help and guide somebody else who's grown through that, because I did not have that help outside of my family. But if I could be somebody to those young people who have the same background or the same situation as me, yes, I would love that. Because one thing I like to help, that's my nature. So yeah, slowly I got into that. So I talked in front of a group of young people. And that started like in 2018. And from now, and slowly I'm making my job out of it.
How many other talks have you had?
I had some important ones. It's not always related to mental health because also like let's go back to the African continent. When you live in poverty, you're always stressed. How am I gonna feed my family? Where's the next step? How do you do certain things? So money issues equals mental disturbance.
That means a lot of us have issues
Oh,
Because many issues are common
yeah, we
issues.
do that because you stress your body to a certain point because you do not know, like, tomorrow I'm going to eat, what's going to happen. So, yes, we live under constant stress. So the moment you actually make money, you sit down and you be like, oof. That was something that fell off me, like a heavy, heavy load. I did not even know I had that. So that's how I got to my second subject. We started a platform for young people with money problems because also like in immigrant families, like mental health, we don't talk about money problems. We just ignore that we have money problems and we show to the world we're good. So those two things equals like a lot of non-sleeping and like your head working 24/7. Okay, how am I gonna do that? So the same people I had that platform with, they came with a different one, and it's like, we want to have young people on the table and talking about actual the money part. Like, how do you spend money? How do you are like financial responsible? And when I got to that platform, I've been advocating for like the last 3 years. Today also we talked about it. My best moment is I got to sit with a Dutch queen to actually have this conversation about how we take steps for the next generation and the money debts, and that like it equals also the mental health aspects of money. So with a few young people, I got to talk to the Dutch queen about it.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of people that face similar challenges do struggle to find coping mechanisms that are healthy. I wonder what strategies you used.
Well, for me, it was like touch and go, looking for them. I discovered what we're doing right now. This is my mechanism.
Okay.
But my vision, if I apply it to Rwanda, my ears are so talented. Music is a therapy session. A lot of people do not understand. And then we take the African culture, it's like, but that's not African. Okay. When we go back to the Rwandan culture, before colonization, talking, music, storytelling, fashion, painting, they're part of our history, and those are like therapy-based things that we as Africans can at least imply into them. You make a masterpiece, you make an art piece, but it tells where you went through and the stages to get there and why you put it out. And I tell, that's an art. So those are my healing mechanisms. And next to that, I work out a lot. I got some anger issues, so I powerlift. I powerlift to cope with my cropped up anger.
I think I have anger issues too. Honestly speaking, the more we have this conversation, the more I feel like if there's anyone who needs therapy, it's me. But you know, again, and I'll tell you why. I have lots of issues in my life, but I'm also somebody who's really in people's faces.
Me too.
Being a broadcaster and a firstborn in my family, almost everything, and everyone looks at me. And because people look up to you and they come to you seeking guidance, counseling and all, you really have no moment to express your weakness. They've already put you on a pedestal and you find yourself actually just getting used to that. And I realized that in most cases, I struggle on my own. I fight with my demons in the middle of the night when I lose sleep and I cannot go back. And I'm thinking of so many things.
You start with one small and it goes like...
I'm telling you.
It becomes like, you know, like, how is that big, like, the mountain called in the Virunga Mountains? I see always the 7 volcanoes, like, that's my state of mindset.
You know. So maybe I need to take this quite seriously because we just don't. But there's also mental health stigma. Let's talk about mental health stigma. We have institutions here. We have a place that Ndera place, and people don't openly talk about being taken there, and people go there for different reasons. It could be mental health, it could be addictions and others, but it's something that people don't openly talk about. So mental health stigma. How can we deal with it? How can the public or the community help people that are facing mental health issues?
We're not crazy. That's the thing people think. When we say therapist, they all go like, no, we're not crazy. It's a weakness of the soul and the mind. So it's a sign from your body. It's like, okay, listen, you just put me under so much pressure. Give me peace.
Give me peace.
Give me peace. So find something what gives you that peace. For example, when I feel I'm like highly emotional, I do not drink. And I know my people drink. Because I discovered, looking at young people around me, especially like with African backgrounds, certain things, every time when they were stressed or under high pressure, like we go out and we drink, but you do know that that emotion gets heightened so much, it gets worse. Especially like in my 20s, I was going out. If you ask me what I did in the beginning of my 20s, I don't remember.
You always blacked out.
Because not blacking out. No, because I'm a control freak. But because I was running from
running away from something.
Yeah, because like
you never wanted to remember
I did
this.
not have that peace. What you said, like in my body and the same things. I did not have that peace. So I was always looking for something that made me tired, and that I could crash right away.
You know, that's what I'm calling blacked out. Not necessarily blacking out because you had a long night.
But yeah. So it starts with. Accepting, even as a parent, if your child has like a bad period in school, instead of like saying, oh, you're stupid, look at your classmates and shit, it's like, okay, what's disturbing you that you cannot focus? It's a really easy question. And you do not list a hierarchy as a parent because you show at least, okay, I see something is disturbing you. You used to be academically so well. So what's disturbing you that you got to that point? It's like a small conversation. That's therapy.
Yeah.
Just
when you compare the Netherlands, where you are fully established and you have this campaign running, and then in Rwanda today, now that we've been here for a few years, how do you compare these two places and our approach to mental health issues?
A lot of people think because you grow up in the West, it's already taken care of. Yes, the therapy systems are there in place, but at the same time, the stigma is worldwide still a problem. And the thing is, what we as like African diaspora and African people on the continent need to acknowledge is we don't need those white systems to heal ourselves. We need to come closer to ourselves, come closer to home, and look at like the mechanisms that we already have in our culture to use to heal each other. So yes, sit, have a conversation, read a book, tell your stories, listen to music, look at that fashion. Somebody's trying to tell a story about themselves, by exposing themselves, and maybe when you see that one art piece or you hear that song, it heals you. So we're community people. Let's be a community again instead of like saying, oh, but yeah, that does not work for us, because we used to be communities who told stories, who traveled to other villages. Where did that go?
We don't do that anymore.
No.
You know, now that you mention it, I recall days with my grandparents, and would be seated there and they're narrating the stories from their childhood, telling us those stories about their nightmares and all these things. But now that I'm sitting here with you, it was therapeutic both for them and for us. We were learning something, but for them it was a channel
it was a healing
to let
moment.
out. It was a healing process for them.
Yeah, a friend of mine told me, like, because we talked about my grandmother, and I love her. Like, I sit with her on the couch. Like, this lady is almost 90, but like the strength she has, it scares me. Like, when I see like the whole attitude, I was like calling my sister, because when I'm disturbed, I call my sister, and I was like, she did this, and that. She's like, lady, did you get a mirror? You finally found where you got your whole attitude and behavior. But like, I look at her.
And that may be you at the age of 90.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like, no, it's parts of me. She tells stories. She loves to sit there with us and tell her stories. And then a family friend of mine said, like, if we do not tell those stories, our culture is dying. Our culture is dying with it, because the youth right now, we have an identity crisis. We do not know where we come from because we shushed things after the colonial and after the black pages in our history. But we want to know, Where do our parents come from? How was you when you were 16, 17? Because that will give me strength before I pull some stupid thing. Every time I think, oh, my mom was 17 and doing that, so let's not do that. We really want to know, and that's like my part in the healing program, what I want to use. Build bridges between the older generation and the new generation. Respect is not something you force. Respect is something you get by telling, actually, this is what I did to get to this point.
Yeah. When I talked to you, you said your life mission is for you to use your experiences and commitment to mental health should inspire others, empower young people to raise their own voices, and offer hope to those who, like you, have struggled. At what stage are you with the advocacy, and what are your goals and objectives?
I think I'm at a stage that, yes, I want to stand on that stage. That I own my own mistakes and my own weak moments. But I am also blessed. I'm at a point that I'm really blessed, and I want to own, like, yes, I have weekdays, but it's allowed to be there. But tomorrow I'm gonna wake up, take a shower, make my bed, listen to that one song, and do my makeup and walk out like yesterday never happened. Because yesterday I had the point to wallow in my misery, but tomorrow I'm not gonna do that. I'm at that stage, and that's what I also want to teach people. Yes, it's okay to have 1 week moment. It does not mean the whole travel, the whole journey fell apart. It was you just needed your rest moment, what we talked about. It's giving my soul a rest.
Do you feel like you've overcome the survival guilt? You called it that, huh?
I think I have overcome it.
Overcome it?
Overcome it. Okay, I was like, I'm in a Dutch moment right now.
No, you overcame it. You've overcome it.
It's like Dutch grammar in my head. Like, is that correct? No. Yes, I got over it because I'm at the point right now where I want to give back.
Okay.
So I struggled. I went through it. And I came to Rwanda. I told my story to young people, and they were like, we need those platforms. So it's now my time to pay back my privilege, that I could do that I had a safe environment to actually homegrown and understand my problems.
Do you feel like your home people really care about your story? Because sometimes we also tend to brush people off, because after all, look at you. Very privileged, well-spoken, quite exposed, and you've had a family that has been supportive. So why should we care about you? In most cases, you're coming to talk about people that come from quite dysfunctional families. Sometimes you're coming from people who are struggling to get a meal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why should you listen to me?
Good.
First of all,
Why?
I'm not that important. But if my story does something to you, yes, you should come to me, because I will teach you how to find that peace in yourself, because you're not your family. You're not that dysfunctional hole that you grew up in. If you see a vision for yourself, you just grab it, and if you cannot do it by yourself, you find people like me to actually pull you out of that. That's why I grew up privileged, but I paid my dues also differently. My life is not your life, so don't compare yourself to anybody else. Why do we like to compare ourselves and blame other people for it? Is it my choice that I grew up privileged? No, but it's my choice that I want to share my privilege with other people.
Have you faced a scenario when somebody has told you, you know what, just shut up, you don't know what you're talking about?
Yes, that's your opinion. It's allowed to be there.
Have you faced it?
Yes.
And how did you deal with it?
I said, that's the opinion. It's allowed to be there. But like on the other side, I told you already, I'm a bit bossy. Your opinion does not pay my rent.
So I
would not lie awake from that, because you're not there at your time of the journey. And in that moment, that's how you feel. Your emotions are allowed to be there. I am an emotional advocate, so if I told somebody your emotions are not allowed to be there, that would be like a little bit hypocrite of me. Yes.
How do you envision the future of mental health awareness and support in our country?
I just want to tell our people, just talk a bit with each other. just have a small conversation. And if we do that, it will build to a certain point that we actually openly can acknowledge we are all a bit broken. But it's not something to be ashamed of. Why should we be ashamed of the fact that we survived one of the most horrific things in history? It makes us heroes. So yes, to have those weak moments, it means that you're human and that you're still getting through it.
You feel like our government is doing enough?
They do, but now it's up to the Rwandan people themselves. If you have like all the essential next to you, like the government cannot force you to do that. It's you accepting at what stage in life you are with yourself, like emotionally, spiritually, where are you with yourself? Because for example, like people tell me, yeah, but I go to church, but you pray in yourself. If you're really are praying to people to get to hear you, like Jesus spread the word for God, because he was spreading the word till somebody at least like heard him. So why do you need certain people to hear you? You only need one person who actually hears you and thinks like, hey, she did that. I want to do that. That's the only thing. We always expect so much from people, from governments, but like, no, if you have one person or one group who acknowledge your effort and who reaches the hand out to you for like the next phase, that's enough.
Oh, thank you, Gigi. We will be back with Gigi's 6Qs. This is The Real Talk. Welcome back to The Real Talk. Gigi, 6Qs. What are your favorite hobbies?
Okay, I told you already, like, I fitness.
Okay.
Yeah. No, like heavy weights. Like I put like headphones on, go to the gym. I have this angry face.
You don't look like it.
No, like
you got flabby arms like mine.
Yeah, but like,
what do you lift?
It's not to get skinny. I told you it's therapy. I go in there with some aggressive hip hop music and I just pull and I go out and I'm like, oh, my soul's cleansed. And when I'm stressed, I cook.
Okay.
I studied like a hospitality school in the Netherlands, so I cook.
Okay.
I love cooking. It's therapeutic to lie things down and to be like, and in the end, when people sitting around that table and they're eating something you made.
You love it.
Yes, that's my community building, and for the rest, I read a lot since I was young, reading.
You love your food. What is the best life advice you've received?
Just be yourself. My dad used to tell me that, like, why does it matter? Just be yourself.
He was quite liberal,
what's wrong with being yourself?
He's struggling to be like the next person.
Yeah, like I need to like explain it, especially to the Rwandans here. We as diaspora kids, we grow up with like, how do I explain that? The biggest, who am I? Because over there we're Africans. Over here, we're Europeans. So we sit somewhere in the middle and be like, where do we come from? Who am I?
You've got no identity.
Yeah, and then we come back to Rwanda. No, that's something I discovered with my friends. And then we trauma bond. Oh, yes. Oh, you grew up in Belgium? Did you go to that too? Yes, I grew up there. Yes, I had the same problems.
Oh, gosh. So you all have experienced the same thing.
No, we have the same upbringings, but in different countries. And then we come in Rwanda and we find each other.
And you compare notes.
Yeah, we go out and we compare notes. Oh, how are like the English people treating you? No, the Dutch don't work.
I had another question for you, whether you loved to cook or take out. I think you already answered that question.
No.
Oh, okay, I can still ask it. So,
I love
cooking and takeaway, what do you love?
Okay, I like restaurants.
You like restaurants.
If you ask, like, Mom, I'm sorry. Where most of my money goes.
Takeaway. Oh, gosh.
I and my friends, we like to go out to eat and just chat.
And so you're the kind that will try out every new restaurant in town.
Oh, yes, I'm the guide to good restaurants. In The Hague, if you ever come, I'm your hospitality guide.
I plan to visit sometime, so you'll give me all the names, all the best restaurants.
And slowly in Kigali for the diaspora back around, like my cousins always text me, like, I saw you there, what is good? I was like, go there, and go there, and go there.
What would you say to a young person who looks up to you for inspiration?
Do you?
Do
Find
you?
your talent, find your passion, do the things you like. And do you. And if you do not know what you want to do, but you're inspired by it, you can always send me a message. I am not arrogant at all.
You'll respond to our messages.
Yes, but don't,
Okay.
don't flood my inbox, please. Don't do that.
What do you and your friends do to catch up?
Okay. We have those nights. I have girls' nights. I have a steady group of friends in The Hague. And it goes from 23 to people in the 50s. Because that's how we heal each other. And I have girlfriends, if I come there, they will not talk to my mouth. They will first ask me, like, okay, what did you do? Okay, and what happened? And then they will analyze the situation and come straight to me. Oof. And even right now in Rwanda, I have the type of friends, I call them at 3 o'clock at night, or if something happens, or if I go out to dinner by myself, I will take the phone, because we have the Holy Girls' Night, and I will put
and
my
you place the phone there. You'll be eating as they're watching.
And they will sit at like a home-based place,
Wow.
and then we will just talk about, how's your day? What
That's
are you
interesting.
doing? How?
That is so cool. And lastly, what would you say to 20-year-old Gerardine?
Ooh. Girl, it's not the end of the world. You will think this is the most painful moments in your life and you will never get anywhere. And oh yeah, that university degree you just not do. It will come.
Yeah.
It will come, and maybe you don't even need it, because you will find a passion where you just studied life for. I was so obsessed with doing what other people were doing. If I told like 20 years, just enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
Enjoy the ride, because 10 years from now, you're going to be at a place and be like, oh, that was the worst part of my life. No.
Yeah. There's more to come.
Yeah, especially 20-year-olds. These days, we get older. It's really the beginning of your life. And even at 30, I feel...
Like you're just starting off.
Yeah, I thought back in the days, 30s, I'm so old.
That's true.
And now you're like in your 30s, you're like, okay, I'm in my 20s with a bit of more money and a bit more responsibility. Responsible behavior.
Yeah,
That's the only difference.
Behavior.
You make more money and you're a bit more responsible and life-wise.
Yeah. I would love you to look at that camera and speak to the person that is watching. If there's anything you want them to take away from this conversation, what would it be? Talk to them.
Yeah. If you struggle, and we will have black days, and we will have good days. But what I was telling my friend, it's okay not to be okay. But the next day, you pull up yourself up and just go and find your power, find your strength. And for the ones of you who are chasing a company or building something, it's just a moment. Because 3 months from now, you can be a whole different person. So don't hang into that too much. Evaluate, write it down, sing about it, paint it, gather yourself together, and go. And if you want to talk and have... Yeah, I want to ask like more to the Rwandan people. What kind of platform do you need? From me, from Jackie, from the Rwandan government, from the world. What's the platform that you need that we can heal our country from the inside out right now? Because when I look at Rwanda to the world, we already healed the image. But are we healed as people? And what do we need to actually heal the soul of the country?
Thank you, Gerardine. That was deep. Thank you so much. I'll confess, every time you've mentioned The Hague, all I could think about is the ICC. I think The Hague is so synonymous with ICC that I don't imagine life away from that court.
Yeah, like when people say like The Hague, no, people ask, I always want to tell the Netherlands, they're like, oh, Amsterdam. I'm like,
exactly. We all think of Amsterdam, not The Hague.
The Hague is such an important piece of the Netherlands, but also to the world.
Yeah.
And the thing about the ICC, we talked about it, like I think 50-60% of actual people that work there are African women.
Thanks for educating us on that. It's been a great pleasure having Gerardine Bayisenge on the show and for us to tackle a topic like mental health. We do hope that you've been able to pick something. Let's keep this conversation going. Use the hashtag #TheRealTalk. My name is Jackie Lumbasi, and we want to say a big thank you to our host, Smith's Boutique Hotel in Kiyovu. We look forward to seeing you again next week. May God bless you.